all JV1, JV2, and Varsity Volleyball parents, please meet in the southeast corner of the gym. Tonight we would like to say thank you to the parents of our Viking volleyball players. We realize that we could not do it without the sacrifices you made for our program. With the sincerest of hearts, we say thank you for all that you do. Parents, please meet your daughters when your names are called. We will start with JV2, a freshman, Natalie Bartelt, Chip and Anna Gilgenbach. Raina Seegers, Steve and Mandy Seegers. Jenna Huey, Jim and Sherry Huey. Isabella Mole, Amanda Mole. Hannah Edie, Paul and Kelly Edie. Anna Supernan, Scott and Laura Supernan. Maylee Hornberg with Captain Dan and Tasha Hornberg. Cooper Bargenquast with Mark and Amy Bargenquast. Elena Schultz with Louis Schultz. And sophomore Lily Runge, DJ and Erica Runge. And now for JV1, freshman Madison Zitlow, Dave and Heather Zitlow. Madeline Schwefel, Tom and Holly Schwefel. Haley Wolf, Jason and Dawn Wolf. Evelyn Paul, John and Vicky Paul. Jenna Petrowitz, Melanie Petrowitz. And Addie Supernan, John and Tanya Supernan. And now for sophomores, Chelsea Olson, Mike and Lisa Olson. Ellie Walta, Chris and Jamie Walta. Natalie Paul, Jonathan and Victoria Paul. Evelyn Davies, Jason and Kelly Davies. And Anna Trewin, John and Ginny Trewin. And junior Leah Mathias with Brian and Angie Mathias. And now for your varsity volleyball players. Freshmen, Sam Unger, Rob and Kate Unger. Sophomore, Brooklyn Dins, Davey and Danny Dins. Manager, Abby Philly, Todd and Missy. Juniors, Samantha Miller, Kevin and Julie Miller. Avery Supernan, John and Tanya Supernan. Melena Dins, Davey and Danny Dins. Lindsay Nell, Marty and Jenny Nell. McKenna Herbrand, Brian and Becca Herbrand. And Abby Cole, Jeff and Paula Cole. And now for our seniors, Morgan Keel, Troy and Amy Keel. Amber Johnson, Scott and Kelly Johnson. Siri Kuski, Matt and Jen Kuski. Natalie Belt, Ross and Tammy Belt. And Kiara Shea, Kevin Shea, Scott and Tracy Bookron. Once again, thank you very much, parents. We would also like to welcome the Wall League Grade School volleyball players. If you haven't already, please find Pastor Yankee for a souvenir mini volleyball.
Welcome to WLA TV. Glad to have you along on the campus of Winnebago Lutheran Academy. I'm Jordan King with you this evening on WLA TV. Got a good one on the volleyball court tonight. Winnebago Lutheran Academy hosting St. Mary's Springs Academy in what right now factors to be the deciding match in the Flyway Conference race. If WLA wins it tonight, looking at Campbellsport across the scope of the season, WLA will clinch at least a share of the Flyway title. And again, looking at Campbellsport, WLA certainly in the driver's seat to win the Flyway Conference title outright in the first season under the direction of Coach Emily Krause. She brings an experienced team here tonight for the Vikings, but takes on a pretty experienced bunch as well from St. Mary's Springs. You know, talking to some of the players and about Laconia and Springs and the differences that you look for between the two. Springs, a little bit more veteran of a team in terms of their makeup than Laconia was. So does that help you? Certainly did that help WLA in a 5-set thriller over at Laconia. You still had to take care of business. WLA was still in a tough situation over at Laconia, able to pull out the win in 5 sets, but playing against a much more experienced team this time. For Springs, they haven't played Laconia yet. They host Laconia on the final night of the season in the Flyway. That's next Thursday. And wonder if Laconia's interested in that. I've seen numerous Laconia sweatshirts. In fact, there's a group just across from where we're calling it tonight up in the general public spot, all Laconia sweatshirts on. So I don't know if that's Laconia's team that made the trip over here to WLA, but certainly if they did, they would be Springs fans tonight to get themselves into at least a share of the Flyway conversation. Springs this season comes in 17-8 according to the WIS Sports standings. The Vikings 18-8 according to WIS Sports, and both teams 5-0 in the Flyway Conference. You play you play 7 of 8 teams in the Flyway Conference, so you play 7. WLA has 2 more tonight, and then they go to Campbellsport, and then as mentioned previously, Springs will host Laconia. So the tougher of the two is certainly Springs' path through the rest of the season, but WLA, big opportunity tonight in front of a raucous home crowd. This crowd is already loud and boisterous here in the warm-ups. A chance for them in front of these home crowds on Parents' Night to get a big win. And, you know, if they play well down at Campbellsport next week, you would assume they win that game. So tonight to decide whether or not they will be Flyway Conference champions with an undefeated record. So all of that's on the line tonight. Springs would love to play spoiler, but not just that. They keep themselves involved in the conference race themselves. They win tonight. They beat Laconia, and Springs is your undefeated Flyway Conference champs. And even if they win tonight and lose to Laconia, then you have a 3-way tie. So Springs, big game tonight, big match tonight for them here on the campus of WLA. 7 more minutes of warm-up for Springs, then we'll send it down to national anthem and starting lineups. Man, I'm excited for this one. It should be a good one. Hope you'll stay with us right here on WLA TV.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Flyway Conference matchup between the St. Mary Springs Ledgers and the Winnebago Lutheran Academy Vikings. To honor America and those defending our freedom, we ask that those who are able to stand, remove your hats, and place your hand over your heart for the singing of our national anthem, performed by WLA Junior Adowin Chemnitz. The WIAA requires good sportsmanship by student athletes, coaches, and spectators at education-based interscholastic events. We request your cooperation by supporting the participants and officials in a positive manner. Profanity, racial, sexist, or ethnic comments, or other intimidating or taunting actions or chants will not be tolerated and are grounds for removal from the site of competition. Please enjoy the game in a positive manner. Now for the starting lineups for tonight's game. First, for the Ledgers, number 12, Allison Ducks. Number 14, Addison King. Number 18, Vanessa Schmidt. Number 22, Sydney Pitts. Number 25, Haley Hoffman. Number 29, Braylon Lewis. And at the Libero, number 3, Lexi Kuhn. And the starting lineup for your WLA Vikings. Number 4, Avery Superman. Number 5, Brooklyn Gins. Number 10, Melena Gins. Number 11, Amber Johnson. Number 12, Lindsay Nell. Number 13, Siri Kuski. At the Libero, number 17, Tierra Shea. Referees for tonight's game, Dan Henderson and Jim Teets. Line judges are Doug Engelbrecht and Dwayne Rosansky.
We're just about ready to go here. Starting lineups for both of these squads. You just heard them, but a reminder for you. Lexi Kuhn is the libero for Springs. Kiara Shade is the libero for the Vikings. That hasn't changed all season, and we have two excellent liberos going at it here tonight. Number 12 is Allison Ducks. She's a senior. 14, Addison King is a junior. 18 is Vanessa Schmidt, another senior. A couple of more seniors, Sydney Pitts and Haley Hoffman, names that will no doubt sound familiar to Viking basketball fans. Pitts and Hoffman, two integral parts of the girls basketball program at Springs as well. 29 is Braylon Lewis. She's a sophomore. So Kuhn a sophomore, Braylon Lewis a sophomore. Otherwise, 4 seniors and a junior for Springs. Again, talking about their experience as we did in the pre-match talk. Avery Supernan, Brooklyn Dins, Milena Dins, Amber Johnson, Lindsay Nell, Siri Kuski. Since Brooklyn Dins came back from her injury, this has been the starting lineup for the Vikings. Who will serve first? It's Siri Kuski, as it has been for the past 2 seasons for the Vikings. And Kuski makes Springs play defense. Now, it's going to be Hoffman to set, or pardon me, it's going to be Lewis to set. Sorry about that. And there's an early kill for the Vikings, and 1-0. It's going to be Lewis to set early, and not usually that you see a middle setting, but extenuating circumstances have that be the case here for Springs tonight. At least that's what I was told. Here is Lewis once again. First swing for King. She has to tap it over the Viking block. Little miscommunication. Kuski gets there, and a free one going to Springs from Lindsay Nell. This one's set up to Hoffman, who tips it across. Kuski's the first one there. Shea back to Supernand, who just feeds one back across. This time it's Kuhn from the back row. Overhand attack, tapped across by Kuski, and another chance for Springs. King first swing of the night, and Addison King has her first kill of the evening. Ties things up at 1 in what is a crucial Flyway Conference match. If you're just joining us, these two teams both sit 5-0, top of the Flyway Conference. Springs has Laconia yet. WLA already beat Laconia, so an advantage there for WLA, but you got to win this one if you're the Vikings. Vikings probably have a share of the Flyway crown if Laconia can beat Springs next week, regardless of tonight's result. Here's a swing from Lindsay Nell that's too deep, so the first lead of the night for Springs and the first lead change here this evening. If WLA loses tonight and Laconia beats Springs, we'll have a 3-way tie. That's out. Deep serve, first service error. That was Pitts serving for the Ledgers. So there's a lot of different factors that can impact how this finishes out for the Flyway Conference. A little out of sync here, and a tip, free one. Oh, and that is going to hit on the Viking side. Shea wasn't able to get there. That was number 27, Mariana Putzer, into the game, and she really didn't swing at it, just tipped it over the net, and the Vikings not able to communicate it. That one is disappointing. A second service error in quick succession for Springs. That's Addison King into the net and tied back up at 3. Now Lindsay Nell to the service line as Shea takes a seat for the time being. That's a good one from Nell, dug up well by Springs. Near side swing from the Ledgers, and that's 22, Sydney Pitts, her first kill of the night. And Springs retakes the 1-point lead. A match that I think everyone expects to go 5, or at the very least be a bunch of competitive sets. Here's the back set. Supernand has to tap it over, and we already got the student section chanting war. That's off the block and down for Sydney Pitts. Pitts early start for her. And a 5-3 Springs lead. Hoffman will continue to serve. That was her serve the last time. And the Vikings looking to serve receive. This looks deep. Amber Johnson ducks, and the third service error early in this one. WLA has 4 points. 3 of them have come off service errors. And really just one attack so far for the Vikings that has been successful. Kuski takes a seat, as does Avery Supernand. Shea back onto the floor as the libero. Abby Cole onto the floor. And now joining both of them, number 7, Sam Unger. She's a freshman. Unger will set for the Vikings in their 6-2. Springs running a 5-1 tonight. They have a couple of setters, but not able to go tonight. Here is the first swing for Milena. Dins look good on the far side. They're going to say that was deep. Dins cannot believe it. Dins has a look of shock on her face. Looked good from here. Impossible to tell. It's the blue line and the blue paint. Blame the court design, if anything. That looked good from up here, but I am a long way away from that. Dins couldn't believe it, though. She wouldn't lie, would she? There's a set that's really tough. Dins able to get a swing on it. Tipped up, blocked well. Pitts gets high this time. Vikings able to give themselves a chance. A free one coming, though, for Springs from Shea. Here's Pitts once again. Off the block and down. And I think that was Abby Cole into the net. Sure was. And a 7-3, 7-4 lead. Check that. They just gave a point there to WLA. They'll take that off. It's 7-4 on the scoreboard. Dins off the ceiling. Shea deals with it. Another free one as Brooklyn Dins passes it across. Springs has looked the more in sync of the two, and there's a ball that looked out that they're going to call in. So a couple of close calls go against the Vikings here early on, and it's 8-4. There wasn't a real protest there. That was Amber Johnson. I think more of a hopeful request from Amber Johnson than anything else. Vikings out of sync again, and another free one coming, passed across by Cole. I'll tell you what, Lewis has done a really nice job. That's another great swing from Pitts. Here's Dins off the block, up from Brooklyn Dins, and Unger runs into Kiera Shea across from the Vikings. Lewis, near side, Pitts a little bit mistimed on that one. I don't know if it hit the block or just hit the tape, as Pitts got high and once again was going to put a good swing on it that time, just missed it and was into the top of the tape. So 8-5 on the scoreboard. Springs still with a 3-point lead. Dins and her dangerous serve to the service line. Nice job by Lexi Kuhn to dig that up. A chance here for Springs and a good swing. Unger looks backwards, this time for Cole. Cole dug up by King. Near side, that's Schmidt. Dug up by Amber Johnson. Chance here for Brooklyn Dins, and not able to get that one. I think Shea was maybe wanting that. Instead, Brooklyn Dins stepped off the net to try to get a swing at it. 9-5 lead for Springs retained, and another service error. That's the fourth service error for Springs tonight, and Pitts into the net. Here is Kiera Shea. That's a good serve from Shea. Lewis doing a great job, though, to set things up as the middle. And they're running a 5-1 off of her as well. So Lewis going to stay in there as well. So really nice job by her. I've been impressed. Just a sophomore for Springs. And this looks deep and is deep, well deep from Abby Cole. Got to get her going if you're the Vikings. Abby Cole and Avery Supernam, when they start to really contribute on offense, that's when WLA becomes really difficult to stop. 10-6 lead for Springs, and they're do-it-all Libero Lexi Kuhn back to serve. This is deep. Fifth service error, and the Vikings are just hanging around because of that. Vikings have not gotten anything going offensively, save for that one really good swing from Milena Dins that was, to her opinion, erroneously called out. Vikings have 7 points, 5 of them coming off of Springs service errors. Here's a good one from Siri Kuski. Lewis, middle set, tipped over by King. Kuski gets down. Shea tries to find a good spot, dug up by Springs near side. King once again off of the tape. Falling down is Johnson. Dins trying to find a good spot, and Milena Dins could not find a good spot. So another point back over to Springs. 4-point lead restored for the Ledgers here in the first set. WLA scored the first point. Since then, right after that, 2 straight points for Springs, and they have not relinquished the lead since then. There's an ace, the first ace of the night for Springs, and that's Braylon Lewis. Lewis has had a tremendous night so far. She's done a terrific job setting. That's the first ace of the night. That was another good one. Back set from Siri Kuski, and into the net was King. And so a point for the Vikings. I'll say this, in case anyone would question my integrity and if I'm going to be a homer tonight. I think that was a double hit on Siri Kuski, so there you go. I don't think all the bad calls go against the Vikings. Just most of them. Kidding, of course. Here's Kuski going back to Dins. Dins gets high off the block and out. First kill of the night for Milena Dins. And when she gets in sync and she is hit in stride, she's almost impossible to deal with. Seen that throughout the course of the Flyway Conference season. Amber Johnson continues to serve. Another good one. Dug up by Kuhn. Lewis goes back. That's a tough one for King. Into the block, Milena Dins. Her first block of the night. And the second points for Dins. And it's going to force an early timeout here from Coach Bourne of the Ledgers. 12-10. A good response here for the Vikings after being down by as many as 4 here in the first set. They've clawed back within 2. Johnson will continue to serve for the Vikings. I think it was actually 5 points at one point here in this first set. But the Vikings back within a pair. A couple of good plays there by Milena Dins back to back. You know, we talk about the depth on the team for the Vikings. And I told this to a particular player who shall not be named, talking about I don't know if she's wants to be identified, but we were talking about the game and some of the strategy. And, you know, obviously this game is going to be important for both of these sides. And she's like, yeah, well, they're an experienced team. And my response was, so is WLA. Avery Supernan played as a sophomore. Brooklyn Dins played as she's a sophomore, so she's a little bit inexperienced. Milena Dins, junior, but she's played since freshman year. Siri Kuski, 3 years on varsity. Amber Johnson in her third year on varsity. So there's a lot of experience here for the Vikings. There's a first kill of the night for Haley Hoffman, and a good response from Springs out of the timeout that they took. And 13-10. That was an important, in my opinion, that was an important juncture in this first set. Dug up by Shea. Nice job by Supernan to at least keep it in play for the Vikings. Another good pass from Springs and a good swing across court and down for Mariana Putzer. 4-point lead for Springs restored, 14-10. That was an excellent. The Springs have passed the ball. If you're looking for an early decisive factor, that's what I would say it currently is. Springs has given the ball, Lewis a lot of really good opportunities to set the ball near the net. This is another cross court. Can Shea get there? She cannot. Johnson not able to get it, and it's going to be a timeout from Coach Krause and the Vikings, and they'll talk it over. 15-10, Springs lead. That's what the Springs students will say as well, talk it over. It's a great atmosphere here tonight, as it so often is when these two hook it up on the sporting courts or fields or whatever else. Always high emotion, high octane. They've had some battles on the basketball court. Haven't been a ton of football games that have been tremendously competitive in recent years, but it's always, you always get your best from the other side. If you're expected to win, you always know you got to battle against the other when we're talking about Springs and WLA. If Springs is picked to win, WLA is going to come out and scrap and claw and try to chew your arm off for a W. There's another kill for Milena Dins. That's her third of the night. And WLA cuts it back into 4. This is into the net from Lindsay Nell, about an inch and a half from being really, really good from Lindsay. But the first service error for the Vikings turns it into a 5-point Springs lead once again. Haley Hoffman back to the service line. Hoffman slams the ball down a couple of times. That's a good one. Johnson overpass and a chance for the Ledgers. Near side tipped over by Springs. Kuski has it at the net, tries to find a spot. Pushed up by King, tipped up by Lewis. Battle at the net, and Springs was into the net. Point for the Vikings. Brooklyn Dins had a battle at the net with, couldn't tell who that was, if that was Pitts at the net or if that was Putzer. but the battle was won by Brooklyn Dins. Avery Supernan to the bench, as is Siri Kuski. Unger back onto the floor and will set for the Vikings, along with Abby Cole, who will take that outside right hitting position for the Vikes. Dug up by Lexi Kuhn. Near side, Lewis into the block. It's out, though, so point to Springs, 17-12. Back onto the floor is Allison Ducks. One service ace for Springs, 5 service errors. Unger goes back, looks near side, and into the net goes Milena Dins. (18-12), biggest lead of the first set for Springs. It sits at 6. That's into the net once again from Ducks. Well, once again for Springs. That's the first service error I have for Allison Ducks. But it's the 6th error of the night for Springs as WLA stays within shouting distance here in the first set. Milena Dins to the service line. It's a good one, dug up by Kuhn. Nice pass and a nice set up to Sydney Pitts, and Pitts has 3 kills. Braylon Lewis is just humming at the setter position for the Ledgers. Another timeout for Coach Krause and the Vikes, as the Ledgers are just 6 points away from a first set victory. WLA lost the first set over in the pit, playing against Laconia, and able to battle back, won the second set, lost the third. Came back when they were kind of had the backs against the wall, down 21-8, and then rattled off went on a 7-1 or an 8-1 run. It was either 21-18 or 21-17. Went on either a 7 or an 8-1 run to come back and take the lead, take that fourth set, and then dominated the fifth and culminative set as well for the Vikings. 19-13, Springs will have Sydney Pitts back there. Last one she put into the net. This one's a little bit higher. Unger, Vikings still out of sorts. The passing for the Vikings just has not been as good as it has been for the Ledgers. That's an overpass from the Vikings, thrown down by Lewis. Vikings do a good job. Lewis trying to catch the Vikings napping. They are not. Here's Abby Cole, cross court, finds a spot on the floor, and that's a potentially big point for the Vikings as they get back within 5, 19-14. And was that play by Abby Cole a spark for the Vikings? Kira Shea heads to the service line, hoping that that is the case. Shea gets it across here on the far side. That's deep, and no touch from the Vikings, so a point to the Vikings. I think that was number 18, Vanessa Schmidt, on the cross-court attack, and she thought it tipped off of a Viking finger. It did not. 19-15, the lead has dwindled to 4, and what a response, Addison King. Addison King's second kill of the night, just hammered that one cross-court for the Ledgers. King is a junior for this squad. And they don't have the heights listed in the program, but she can't be much taller than Kira Shea, and she gets up and can attack that ball, that's for sure. There's a bit of miscommunication. It was dug up by Allison Ducks, and then a couple of Springs players staring at each other. I think that was Hoffman and Lewis who couldn't make a decision who wanted to go for it. So point to the Vikings, and they once again just staying within shouting distance here early. 20-16. Siri Kuski, that's not a bad person to have back at the service line. And the Vikes going to get a free one. Dins digs it up. Kuski looks far side. Johnson tips it over the block, trying to find a spot. Kuhn trying to find a spot on the Vikings side. Kuski goes middle. Little high for Nell. She was off balance. Thought there might have been a touch on the net, but the net's not moving. That's usually the telltale sign. Shea can't get to that one, and Springs somehow able to will a point across that time. And that was very important. That is a 2-point swing, obviously. Could have been 20-17, instead 21-16. That's another service error from Lewis. And I believe that's her second to the night, 7th of the first set for Springs. WLA has just one, so WLA not handing it to Springs. You know, Springs would probably feel pretty good about this performance other than the service errors, and Johnson can't keep that one in. Another kill for Addison King, her third. Second in quick succession for her, back to a 5-point lead. WLA now into kind of dire straits here in the first set. 22-17, got to go on a run here if you're the Vikings. Siri Kuski looks far side. Milena Dins is a good person to start it. Yes, sir. Milena Dins slams one down on the far side. Brooklyn Dins back onto the floor. As she comes on, Kira Shea takes a seat. So the Vikings without their libero, as is always the case when Lindsay Nell serves, pardon me, and then Nell will take a seat as soon as she's done serving and sit out for her turn around along the back row. That's off the block. Milena Din's able to get it across. Still looking out of sync some for the Vikings. That's another good swing. Sydney Pitts, her 4th kill. She matches Milena Din's for a match high regardless of the team. 23-18, and a good response once again from Springs. Every time WLA has pushed it back to 4, Springs has won the next point to make it 5 once again. 23-18. Back to the service line goes Haley Hoffman. She had not the last spring service error, but last time she was there, she did have one. Kira Shea back lines attack, goes off the hoop, and I guess you'd say that's the home court advantage, if you will. That's the executive member bounce if you're playing golf. Hits off the ceiling, hits off the basketball hoop, and you get a point. Cole and Unger back on for the Vikings. 23-19. Vikes got to go on a run here. Can freshman Sam Unger be the catalyst for it? That's a good serve, and it's down. Oh, wow. That looked down. I'll tell you what, you can go back and watch the replay. That's the second service error for Sam Unger, but I don't have a very good vantage point up here, but looked good. I'm trying to peek over the student section, so I'll say that as well, but that's a tough call to make for the line judge anyway. Not trying to make any enemies. Johnson gets it across. Lewis looks far side. Pitts into the block. Into the block again. Abby Cole getting up high for the Vikings. A free one. That looked like it was outside of the pin. Yeah, it was outside of the antenna. Looked like it for sure. And they stop at midpoint. Point to the Vikings. 24-20. Vikes need to go on a 4-0 run at the very least to keep this thing going. And who better to have at the service line than Milena Dins? Abby Cole, that was terrific. Back-to-back blocks of Sydney Pitts at the net. And we've seen Pitts otherwise dominate tonight. And a free one coming for the Vikings. Got to take advantage of this. Haven't gotten many of them. Back set from Unger and pushed across from Abby Cole. Chance at the net, tipped up by Pitts first and then by Abby Cole. Free one coming for Springs. Johnson passes it across. Near set from Lewis to Pitts. And Brooklyn Din's just able to scramble it across the net. This off the block and down. First set goes to the St. Mary's Springs Academy Ledgers. Vanessa Schmidt gets her first kill of the night, and it happens to come on the culminating point. 25-20 in the first set. We're going to take a break between the sets and come back, catch our breath a little bit, and come back. It's homecoming week here at WLA. The Viking volleyball team trying to continue what the soccer team started last night. The boys soccer team 4-1 winners over Kewaskum, and the volleyball team trying to keep the sports undefeated during homecoming week here at WLA. Hope you'll stay with us. You're watching Flyway Volleyball. It's the Vikings and the Ledgers on WLA-TV. Stay with us. Back here at the campus of Winnebago Lutheran Academy, the Vikings and the Ledgers on WLA-TV. Both of these teams will start as they started the match, at least per my notes. 25-20 was the first set score, going to St. Mary's Springs. The Ledgers up 1-0, and they will lead things off at the service line here as well in the second set. I would expect that to be Lexi Kuhn, I believe, will start things off. No, it'll be Braylon Lewis for Springs. Lewis, one of the middles for Springs, and quickly turned into their 5-1 setter. And she'll get things going here in the second set. Vikings got the first point of the first set. That was the only time they led in the first set. Try a slide play. Does not develop real quickly, and Lindsay Nell hammers it into the net. So an early lead for Springs, who at this point has all of the momentum as Lewis continues to serve. One of the storylines, at least so far in the night, would be Springs struggles at the service line. Here's a nice swing from Amber Johnson. Found a soft spot in the Viking side of the floor to tie things back up at 1. But Springs had 7 service errors in that first set. So out of 20 points, the Vikings gifted 7 of them on errors from serves alone. That's not a great pass from Kuhn. Really her first mistake we've seen from Lexi Kuhn. And that was a nice job from Siri Kuski. Really an error, but I guess that would count as a service ace for the Vikings. Springs had 1 ace and 8 errors. The Vikings only had 2 service errors, did not have a single ace. There's another overpass now. That just tells you how tough Siri Kuski's serves are to deal with. And that is, oh, they call it in. That looked out on the far side. Springs can't believe it. But that was a good swing from Lindsay Nell. Didn't think it had a chance, but she just got her hand on top of it, drove it towards the floor, and it got down in time. 3-1 lead for the Vikings here early in set number 2. Lexi Kuhn has not made a bad pass tonight, at least in the first set she didn't. And she's made, Kuski's made her make a couple mistakes. That's off a block and tipped out. First kill of the second set, second of the night for Abby Cole, and the Vikings have a 4-1 lead. Couple dribbles from Siri Kuski as she tries to continue the momentum for the Vikes. 4 straight points, that's into the net. And and an ace for the Vikings. Depends if you give the other one to Kuski or not, I suppose. I'm not a volleyball expert. I do the best I can up here. All my stats are wildly unofficial. Here's a swing and into the block and down. Abby Cole once again. She's having a great start to the second set and an early timeout from Springs. 6-1, a 6-0 run for the Vikings. And it's happened in quick succession here. Mentioned this in the pre-match, I should say. There's some North Fond du Lac shirts. There's some Laconia shirts. I think everyone kind of knows. This is the gig in town, you know, and you know I'm looking at some viewership numbers, and sometimes when the viewership is low, you know, I wonder why. I think everyone's here tonight. And if you're not, I'm glad you're joining us because it's been a good one so far. Springs was very good in the first set. Outside of the service line, Springs was dominant. And that scoreboard would have looked a lot different if Springs could have put a couple more serves inbounds in that first set that they were able to win anyways. That's into the block from Nell. Nice job from Hoffman. Back set, this is Cole. Cole pops it over. Dug up by Kuhn. Lewis looks to the near side. King on the swing. Cross court. Dug up. And one of the Vikings was into the net. It was Abby Cole. That's the second time tonight Cole's gotten into the net. And it's a point to the Ledgers, and I'm sure Milena Dins and Amber Johnson are probably thinking to themselves, I finally dug up one of those Addison King swings. That's off the block and down. Lindsay Nell landed out of bounds, but that's all right. It tipped off the block anyway, so point to the Vikings. 7-2. Amber Johnson back to serve for the Vikings. She is number 2 in the rotation. That's another good swing down the line. Sydney Pitts, her 5th kill of the night. She's the first player on either team to register 5 kills or hit the 5-kill mark, I should say. 7-3. And now Haley Hoffman's turn to serve for the Ledgers. It's a good one. Johnson overhand. Kuski to Abby Cole, dealt with easily by Springs. Tipped across by Pitts, and a couple of Vikings collide into each other. And if Kira Shea hits the ground and doesn't get the ball, Vikes are in trouble. They were there. 7-4 now, as Springs just trying to slowly claw themselves back into this one. It hasn't been a big run from Springs. WLA went on a 6-0 run. Since then, Springs just trying to win 2 points to every WLA one, it seems like. Far side, here's Dins off of the Kuski set. Tipped across by Lindsay Nell. Here's Kuski once again, looks back to Dins. Dins little close to the net, and Dins pulls that one way wide. 7-5. Nice little run here that Springs is on. They're trying to get the score right. Is it 7-5? We have a stoppage for some reason. I think maybe there is, I don't know what it is. I don't know if the wind was blowing or if there was a car out there that had super bright lights, perhaps. Maybe that was the case. They closed the doors over there, got things settled down. I don't think there was a ton of wind blowing tonight, but got things situated. That's Dins off the block, dug up well and blocked well by Springs. Near side swing off the tape and off the ceiling, tipped up. Dins not able to make contact. And number 18, Vanessa Schmidt, with the swing for the Ledgers, who are back within a point. I believe this is now a 5-1 run. Just as I say, Springs not doing it in large runs. Here you go. Here it is. It's 4-0 and a 5-1 run altogether for Springs. Back set from Kuski looking for Lindsay Nell, and that's the 3rd kill of the night for Lindsay Nell, as Hoffman not able to get her body behind it. Shea will get to take a seat for just a second as Brooklyn Dins comes back onto the floor for the Vikes. Her first action of the second set. Nice serve from Lindsay Nell. That's her first third ace of the set for the Vikings, and they've restored a 3-point lead. If you're a Vikings fan, you say, come on, let's go on a little run of our own here. See if Lindsay Nell can do that for the Vikings. She's back to serve, hits another good one. This one dug up well by Lexi Kuhn. Near to the middle. Lewis to Pitts. That is a dynamic. I mean, when Lewis sets Pitts to the middle, good night. Good night. Ducks back to serve. She just came back in. Far side, Dins. Dug up by Kuhn. How'd she get to that one? A free one coming for the Vikings. Here is Brooklyn Dins. Tips it across. And tipped up by the Ledgers. Can the Vikings win the battle at the net? Brooklyn Dins tries, and she wins it. Brooklyn Dins. That's a big play for the Vikings. Restores a 3-point lead, 10-7. That was a really big play. Dins went up with Pitts at the net, and Brooklyn won the battle. Cole takes a seat along with Kuski. Back onto the floor, Avery Supernand and Sam Unger. This is actually a little bit different. So Supernand started the match. I missed this when we started the second set as Addison King goes into the net with her pass attempt. Would have been a free one for the Vikes anyways, but it ends up with a point. I did not catch this. My apologies, but Abby Cole started the second set. So they run Abby Cole with Sam Unger, the freshman who's on serving right now for the Vikings, their second setter of the 6-2 setup. And instead, they're running Supernand with Unger, and Unger's first service error of the night, the third of the night for the Vikings, first of this second set, 11-8. So they're running Cole with Kuski and Supernand with Unger. Nice dig up there from Kiera Shea. That was tipped across by Lewis, and Shea just puts it across as the Vikes weren't set up in any type of formation. Nice job there by King to avoid going into the net. That's into the block. Supernand digs it back up. Unger gets to it, looks far side. Milena Dins cross court, you bet. 5 kills tonight for Milena Dins, her first kill of the second set. Vikes lead back to 4, and Milena will head back to the service line for the first chance of the second set for her. Oh, that was a thing of beauty. Cross court. Really was off balance as well. Didn't hit it super hard. That's deep. Second consecutive service error in as many tries for the Vikings. Those hurt. Springs fans will say, yeah, try 7 of them in a set. That's the second of this second set for the Vikings, the 4th of the night. Springs has yet to have a service error here in the second set. That's punched across from Amber Johnson and somehow kept herself on her own side of the net into the net from Addison King. So a couple more swing attack errors this time from the Ledgers who, I can't keep swing percentages up here, but they were hitting unbelievably in that first set and kind of cooled off here in the second. That's an overpass from Lewis, and the Vikings hit it into the net. Oh, man. That's a chance that's gone missing there from the Vikings. Couldn't tell. I couldn't tell who it should have been. The communication between Nell and Johnson not quite good enough there as they ran into each other, and Johnson put it into the net. Unger sets back to Supernand, and that's straight into the net. So a couple of straight points here for Springs, 13-11. And Lewis back to the service line. She started things off here in this second set. Unger looks back to the middle, and Milena Dins just looks to put it to a corner. She does so successfully. Middle set here, punched across from Haley Hoffman. Chance here for the Ledgers after a pass across from Avery Supernand, and a good swing. Punched up by Kiera Shea. How'd she get there? Unger passes it across. Another swing, and this is into the official stand. My goodness. How did Kiera Shea get under that? I mean, she makes plays on the basketball court that make you shake your head. She hits home runs on bunts in softball, and you just shake your head. Again, for my money, and I've said this 1,000 times, if you are a YouTube WLA TV regular, you're sick of me saying this probably. You're going to roll your eyes, but Kiera Shea is the most dynamic. There you go again, Kiera Shea. And she gets back up and passes it across. You got to be kidding me. She's the most exciting player in the Flyway Conference. Haley Hoffman finishes the point for the Ledgers. Hoffman, along with Pitts, the two captains of this team, and that was a nice swing from her. Kiera Shea is all over the place. 14-12. Shea digs it up. Kuski goes middle. Nell off the block, dug up by Abby Cole. Going to the far side, that's Amber Johnson. Dug up well by Kuhn. Hoffman gets another chance, pushes it across. Far side, Johnson across once again. Lewis has to deal with it, wasn't sure. Addison King and Lexi Kuhn now passes it across. Free one for the Vikings. Where do they go? They go back to their middle. Lindsay Nell off the light and out of play. Lindsay Nell with her third kill of the set and fourth kill of the night. The Vikings retake a 3-point lead. And Amber Johnson will go back to the service line. 15-12. The Vikings have kind of kept the Ledgers just at that 2 or 3 points, just kind of keeping them at arm's length right now. Pitts dug up by Kuski. Shea gets it back to the net and tipped across by Lindsay Nell. Here's Hoffman. Tips it up. Shea gets there. Chance here for Dins perhaps. Oh, she swung it down. You've got to be kidding me. The ball was nearly a foot behind her head. And Milena Dins turns a mess into points for the Vikings. 16-12, 4-point lead for the Vikes. Near side, this is Pitts. Off the block and out. Good swing from Sydney Pitts, her 7th kill of the night. She still leads all players in that category. Dins has 6 for the Vikings. Milena Dins does. And Haley Hoffman back to serve. 3-point lead for the Vikings. That almost hit the tape. That was a good one from Hoffman. And a free one coming. If it trickles over the net, it does. Lewis goes back to the middle. Pitts has to tip it. Shea gets there. Kuski back to Shea, and Shea, that's one of her few mistakes you'll see as that goes into the net from Kiera Shea, and she kind of has a wry smile on her face. 2-point, back to being a 2-point game. First set was won by the Ledgers, 25-20. Shea gets to this one. It's not a great pass, but Kuski's still able to get one to Dins, who fires one across, dug up well by Haley Hoffman. This is deep. Vanessa Schmidt, there was no touch. Ledgers were pretty convinced that there was a touch, but no call forthcoming. 17-14. Lindsay Nell back to serve. Dug up by Kuhn. Near side, tipped across by Pitts. Check that was Schmidt. And Vikes just get it across. Here's Pitts. Dug up by Amber Johnson, but it is out. Yeah, you don't mistake it when Sydney Pitts hits it. And she's in rhythm. 8 kills tonight for the co-captain. Back onto the floor is Allison Ducks. That's a good one. Johnson, good pass. Back set. Abby Cole. Oh, down the line. Abby Cole just ripped that one. 4th kill of the night for Abby. And it's 18-15. Unger and Supernan back into the ball game. That was a quick rotation there for Kuski and Cole, but Cole affected it in a big way with that last swing. Unger back to the service line. She had an error the last time she was here. This is a really good one. Good tip by Lewis, to get it across. Tipped up by Dins. Chance at the net. It's deep. Lewis said no, or the referee said no touch. Lewis thought it might have been touched. It was tipped across by Lewis. Check that was Pitts. Vikings had to just tip it back across as they dug it up. And then on the overpass, Lewis did not make the Vikes pay. That's another error the fifth of the night now, as WLA almost to the total that Springs had in that first set. Now the Vikings doing it across 2 sets, certainly, but nonetheless. Dug up by Shea. Far side. Oh, Supernan, good cross-court swing there. And it's Pitts from the back row. That's deep. Pitts kind of threw her head back there, and man, it seems everything she's touched has turned to gold tonight for the Ledgers. That time, not so much. Really, the first mistake that I can think of from Sydney Pitts. She's been tremendous tonight. This is another one. 6th service error and 4th of the set. Last 2 times, it went Unger, error, Din's error, and this time same thing. Unger error, Din's error on the very next serve. 20-17, Vikings still have a 3-point lead. But they now have 6 service errors on the night to just 2, or check that, 3 aces. Near side, Kuhn off the block. Brooklyn Din's making use of those long arms. And Shea finds a good spot. Kuhn gets there. Lewis up, and miscommunication between King and Pitts. And it's a point to the Vikes. Timeout Ledgers, and the Vikes are hyped up, running off the floor on the far side, 21-17. That was a nice response for the Vikings after the Ledgers cut it to as few as 2, and I think that's kind of been the key in this second set. And you're going to say, well, no, yeah, no kidding. Every time the Ledgers have gotten within a pair, WLA has responded, and this is a lot like the first set, where the Vikings stormed back from down 6 to down 4. And every time they got it back from down 5 or down 6 to down 4, the Ledgers won the very next point to make it 5 again. And they did that the rest of the set to the 25-20 win. And that's been the case so far in the second set for the Vikings. Every time Springs has cut it back to 2, WLA has won the next point to put it back to 3, and then in some cases won the next point to restore it to a 4-point advantage. That's where they have it now. They are serving the volleyball. It'll be Kiara Shea, the Libero, for the Vikings. She's had a terrific night. Like I said in the pre-match, I think we're watching 2 of the best Liberos in the conference for sure. 2 of the better Liberos you'll see at this level. That was a nice swing from Lindsay Nell. Overpass. Can the Vikings get something out of it? Here's Avery Supernand off the block, tipped up. And they said it did not hit the block. It hit the top of the tape. So point to the Ledgers. Huh. I thought that might have got a piece of the block, but it was lower on the net. So perhaps that did not make it over the tape, trickle across. So 21-18. Lewis is serving. Lewis has been tremendous tonight for Springs. Here is Supernand off the block and down. Avery Supernand with a fist pump there. Her first kill of the night, and I think that's another one where Supernand is, we've seen it happen over the course of the season, is, man, she has had some tough luck. Now, I mean, she's hit her fair share into the net too, but she's hit some good, she had some good swings that just tick the tape or just a fraction long. That's not the best pass. Should be a free one coming across to the Vikings. Dins tipped across for Kuski. Here's Lewis. It's going to be a chance for Hoffman. Kuski to the middle. Oh, what a spot found by Lindsay Nell. Her 5th kill of the night is a big one. It's a 5-point Viking lead, their largest of the second set. And they're 2 points away from tying this thing up at 1 set to 1 set. Siri Kuski back to the service line. That was a tremendous spot from Lindsay Nell. Not the hardest swing she'll ever have. Here on the near side, across. Nope. Thought maybe the Viking block got there. It did not. Instead, Mariana Putzer with her 2nd kill of the night. That was a really good swing. And we have had a power surge on the far side. And the scoreboard has gone off. I saw the scorer's table flicker. There you go. 23-19, I believe it should be. Should be 23-19. They'll get that figured out. We'll get it. Don't worry. I was a high school athlete once too. You are freaked out until it That number says the right thing on the scoreboard. Addison King, that's a good serve. Back set from Kuski looking for Johnson. Johnson off the block. King digs it up. Lewis looks to the near side. Pitts slams it down, and it's another point to Springs. 23-20. 2.20 run for Springs. And after the Vikings had their largest lead of the evening, Springs cuts it back down to 3. 23-20. Jump serve from King. Dug up by Shea. Kuski near to the middle. Check that. And that is Lindsay Nell. Abby Cole. Nell just bats it across. Kuhn gets there. King gets there. Free one coming for the Vikes. Nice defense by the Ledgers, but it gives a chance to the Vikings. Back row swing for Kira Shea. Dug up by Lexi Kuhn. At the net, Lewis looks near side. A little bit out of sync there as Pitts couldn't quite get in front of it. That was off a couple of Springs blocks and tipped 4 times. 1 point away are the Vikes. Amber Johnson back to the service line. 24-20, Springs has to win 4 straight. Just as the Vikings did last set. Can the Vikings turn that score back around? They cannot. That's Pitts once again, who has her 9th kill of the night. Sydney Pitts has been remarkable. Pretty much everyone on both teams has played their part here tonight. A lot of good performances in this one thus far. Hoffman. Shea digs it up. Kuski looks to the far side. There's Dins. Perfect set. Oh, it's dug up. That was unbelievable defense from Springs. I think King was the one to dig it up. That's off the block. Stayed with by Springs. Kira Shea digs it. Back set, Abby Cole looks across court. Off the block and down. The Vikings win set number 2. 25-21. And this thing is tied. My goodness. In a match that is, I think, going to be cogent in deciding this Flyway conference race, the Vikings respond after a 25-20 first set loss with a 25-21 second set win. As I mentioned, it's homecoming week. The rest of the week, festivities-wise, I don't know if we're planning on streaming the Powder Puff and Power Buff tomorrow night. We might. Maybe keep one eye on the WLA TV YouTube channel. See if we got that going on. I'll be out there making a fool of myself on the volleyball court, showing you that it's indeed not as easy as these talented student athletes make it look on both of these teams here tonight. That's tomorrow. Nothing on Thursday. Everything Thursday is away. Both volleyball and soccer on the road. And then on Friday, it's skit night. Yeah, you know it. Biggest night of the year for my money. Up there with the Christmas concert. Biggest night of the year, certainly in Viking athletics. Just a big, huge pep rally. So be here for skit night. If you can't get here, hope you'll stream it with us here on WLA TV. That's where you can find it. And then Saturday, homecoming football against the Amro Foxes. And Amro kind of that next tier down, or really part of that middle of the pack of the Flyway. You know, you got in football, you got, well, what it looks like after last week with what happened with Springs and Campbellsport, it looks like maybe Mayville Springs, that's going to come up in a couple of weeks to decide the Flyway crown. That's tier number 1. Tier number 2 would then be Campbellsport, maybe by themselves. Campbellsport and Laconia, maybe, the playoff eligible teams. Then you look down into that next cluster where you find Lamira, WLA, and Amro. And maybe Amro even slips down to that final tier down there with North Fond du Lac, not sure. But that's how the Flyway football standings look right now. So if you're the Vikings, losing out on playoff eligibility last week with the 21-14 loss on the road at Laconia. Now you just got to, you're playing for, it's homecoming next week. You got to play hard for homecoming, certainly. We're ready for set number 3 here between the Vikings and the Ledgers. The Vikings served first in the first set, which means Siri Kuski will get us going here in the third for the Vikings, who, as I mentioned, stormed back and were not aided by any Springs service errors that set. Springs did not have a single service error. Down the line, there's a good start, Abby Cole. 5th kill tonight. Abby Cole has a thing or two about performing big-time performances on WLA TV. See it on the basketball court. She's had some stellar matches playing volleyball that we've called here so far. We've only had, this only number 3 for us. We had Mayville, Elmira, and now this one. Far side, Kuski, cross court from Amber Johnson. Fight at the net that was won by Lindsay Nell. Nell, this was not the best set of Siri Kuski's career. That's King backed up. Can Shea get there? Kira Shea can. Excellent job by Amber Johnson to dig it up, and Shea got it across for the Vikings. Back set. Abby Cole from Kuski just gets it across. Very well done. Lewis tips it across, and the Vikes can't deal with it. That was a really intelligent play. Braylon Lewis's first kill of the night, and it's tied back at 1. And Braylon Lewis, as she has all night, will be the first setter for Springs here in this set. 1-1. And Allison Duck's going to leave the floor. In place of her comes Mariana Putzer. And just getting that official stanchion reset there. They got it on some pads down there, so I might have slipped off of that. Knuckling serve from Springs, and Abby Cole had that one kind of roll down the hand and was into the bottom of the net. That was a nice serve from Lewis. Just kind of knuckling across, and those are the toughest ones to deal with. Din's able to get this one. Kuski looks straight back to Nell. Nell off the block, and a solo block from Haley Hoffman, her 3rd kill of the night. And the first block of the night for Haley Hoffman. 3-1, 3-0 run here early in the 3rd from Springs behind Lewis. Here's Johnson off the block. Looked like it was going to get down. It does not. Lexi Kuhn, that's deep. Ooh. That was one if you're Kiera Shea. Oh, that's heart in the throat moment right there. But a good decision from Kiera to let that be. And it was deep. Amber Johnson serving. That is Hoffman off the Viking block and down. Another kill for Haley Hoffman in quick succession. Her 4th of the night. 4-2 lead for Springs. We're in the 3rd set, tied up 1-1 if you're just joining us. 25-20 in the first set went to Springs. 25-21 to the Vikes in the second set. That is into the net from Milena Dins. 5-2. Good serve there from King. And not an overpass, but the Vikes way out of sync. Here's Nell. Chance at the net. That went off the block of Hoffman. Hoffman got up real high there, got the block, but just not able to control it and cushion it onto WLA's side. So point to the Vikings. Shea takes a seat. Lindsay Nell to the service line for WLA, and this one hits the outstretched arm of her teammate Brooklyn Dins, as that was closer to the bottom of the tape than the top, but that's all right. Go back across to Springs, and it'll be Hoffman, the opposite middle. At least that's kind of what I've gathered here tonight. Oh, and Amber Johnson at the last minute hits the deck like she's playing dodgeball and just able to get out of the way there. 6-4. Vikings going to use the same lineup they did last set, which worked well, which was Kuski and Cole playing together and Unger playing alongside Avery Supernand. 6-4, and Unger back to the service line. Now, she has had an ace tonight. Now, check that. She has not. She's had a couple of errors, though. Tipped up by Milena Dins. Brooklyn Dins gets it across. Here's a swing. Oh, Milena Dins blocks it down, and she gives a wag of the finger. 7th kill of the night for Milena Dins. That went off Milena. She blocked it down, and that was the Dikembe Mutombo finger wave, and it's back to a 1 point margin here. Kuhn able to find Lewis and straight down. Pitt's first kill of the third set is a big one. It re-extends the lead to 2. That's her 10th kill of the night. Sydney Pitts continues to do good work for Springs. Back onto the floor comes Allison Ducks. Ducks will head straight back to serve with the 2-point lead. Tied up 1-1. Dug up by Shea. Unger looks to Milena Dins. Back row off the block and down, and that was the 8th kill for Milena Dins, and you could see the frustration on Vanessa Schmidt's face as that was, half an inch away from blocking that back onto the Viking side. Instead, it stayed on her side of the tape and down. Tipped across by Schmidt. Dug up by Amber Johnson. Here's Avery Supernan, strong on the cross-court swing. Decent attempt there for the Vikings. Maybe the set just a touch wide there from Unger. And Pitts will serve for her first time in the third set. Dug up by Brooklyn Dins. Dins throws her hands up. That was a celebration from Brooklyn Dins. And the Vikings not able to win the point. How do you not have fun watching Brooklyn Dins play volleyball? She literally just celebrated the fact that she had a successful pass in the middle of a point. Now, I guess we could be sticklers and say win the point first, but come on now. Come on now. Brooklyn takes a seat as Lindsay Nell re-enters the game, and the Vikings won the last point. That was a service error for Springs, their first of the third set. 9-7, Vikes have it back within 2. That was a tremendous swing that time from Schmidt, tipped across here from Lewis. A couple of Vikings stay out of their way. Avery Supernan with a swing off of, couldn't see the number. They're right behind the official from where I'm calling it, so couldn't tell who wasn't able to dig that up, but Avery Supernan with her second kill of the night. And the Vikes back within a point. Kira Shea will continue, so here's a little bit of a difference. And that's deep, not touched by the Vikings. That's a point for the Vikes. Yeah, there was some a couple of people looking around, a couple of the refs looking around as well. Dins served behind Unger last set. This time it's Shea serving behind Unger. And Shea able to get that one. Oh, and Lindsay Nell not able to pass it back into rhythm for the Vikings. And 10-9 on the scoreboard. Amber Johnson's going to run over and have a conversation with the official, ask a question. And if nothing else, delay things here, give the Vikings maybe a kind of a free timeout here a little bit too. Gives me a chance to catch my breath. Been doing a lot of talking. That's my job. Not really. Lexi Kuhn is serving for the Ledgers. That's tipped across. Nice job from Supernan to stay on her own side. Double block put up, and what a swing from Addison King. She's been quiet since the first set. She had 3 kills in the first set. Since then, nothing. And that's her first kill since then. She's got 4 on the night. It was a good serve from Lexi Kuhn. Jump serve from Kuhn. Ooh, Shea has a tough time with that one. Johnson back in. And a free one coming. Supernan passes it across. Here's Lewis. Sets to the near side. King once again cross court. Overpass. Tipped up by Lewis, and the Vikes can't get there. 12-9 as Lewis has her second kill of the night. Both of them coming on Viking overpasses. Timeout Vikings will take it with them. Back in 45 seconds. Third set action between the Vikes and the Ledgers after this. Springs quickly out of the timeout. Obviously, WLA took it. I would assume if you take it, you want to use up, well, as much as you need, certainly. But Vikes use a few more seconds of it than do the Ledgers. 12-9, Vikes get reset, and it'll be Lexi Kuhn once again to serve for the Ledgers. And this one has a couple of Vikings staying out of each other's way, and Lindsay Nell into the block of the Ledgers. (13 to 9). 4-point Ledger lead. And Lexi Kuhn has gone on a 4-0 run herself. Well, I guess a 3-0 run with from Kuhn serve. There's 4-0 as Haley Hoffman has her 5th kill. A big block from Hoffman. And a 5-0 run for the Ledgers. Another jump serve from Kuhn. Unger looks to the middle. Oh my, that should have been Nell, I believe. Nell was looking at Supernan like it should have been Avery. And just like that, it's a 6-point lead. This one's starting to get away from the Vikings in the 3rd set. Another good one from Kuhn. Just knuckling across. Back set from Supernan. Or to Supernan, pardon me. Back row swing from Pitts. It's a good one. Unger looks far side. She has Amber Johnson, there. Oh, that's a good tap. Somehow Shea gets to it. Deep from Lindsay Nell. Vikes on the ropes here in set number 3. 16 to 9. Vikes got to find themselves a run here, and they got to do it in a hurry. Kuhn into the net. Maybe the Vikes have a little bit of life from that. It should be Dins, I believe, to the service line. Oh, no, pardon me, Kuski. So I was completely wrong before. It was Dins before. I missed that with Dins serving before Kirashe. 16 to 10. Here goes Siri Kuski. Can she go on a run? Went on a 6-1 run in the 2nd set to get things going, and the Vikes never relinquished that lead. Here's Abby Cole cross court. Couple of Springs players sprawl out for it. Pitts from the back row once again deep. Vikes have a 2-0 run, 16 to 11, still down by 5. Can you spot a team as good as Springs 7 points this late into the 3rd set? That's the question. Good one from Kuski. Can the Vikes battle back? Near side, King off the block and down, and it's Springs points. It came down on the Vikes side. Nell and Cole were over there, had it covered, but not able to get their hands quite far enough across the net to block it down. 17 to 11. Oh, that is dirty, but a nice serve from Lewis. Lewis back to the front row to continue setting off the block and down for Addison King, her 5th kill of the night. Addison King has once again had another nice set here. Struggled somewhat in the 2nd set to get anything going offensively, but very good 1st set, and so far a good 3rd set for her. 7-point lead restored for Springs. 18 to 11. Good find from Shea to Kuski. Far side attempt from the middle for the Vikings. Lindsay Nell. Springs gets it across. Dealt with by the Vikings. Swing for Abby Cole. Lewis goes far side, tipped across. Kuski tries to find a spot. Lewis tips it back up. Kuhn once again. Swing into the net from Putzer. 18 to 12. And Amber Johnson now to the service line. After this, it should be, you start to get close to where the Vikings start to go to that 2nd rotation. Amber Johnson finds Kuski. Back to, oh, Abby Cole found a corner. Springs can't believe it. Abby Cole found a corner. Unbelievable. I was getting ready to say point Springs. It was down in that corner. That's what the referee, or the line judge, pardon me, said. 18 to 13. Back to a 5-point lead. Free one coming. King has to pass it across. Back from Kuski on the slide play to Nell. Cross court dug up by Lewis. Back row swing once again by Pitts. This time Malena Dins off of the block. Straight up. Vikes keep playing. Oh, and it was no block. The Vikings were almost done playing the point. Why do you stop the point in the middle of it? Why do you stop it then? You let them play. They would have blown the whistle. The ref on that side clearly didn't see that. I don't know why the ref on the near side blows that dead. You play that point out. Wow, my goodness. They're going to get the line judge involved now. Wow. And again, I have no idea what the correct call is here. I'm not close enough to make that judgment. I'm not trying to say I am. It was interesting to blow that dead when the Springs had stopped playing. They're going to give the point to Springs, which is fine. And WLA is going to take a timeout then. I think Coach Krause just wants to calm her girls down after what she perceives to be a poor call. We'll take a timeout, settle things down here at WLA. Come back after this. 19-13. So back out of the timeout, regardless of, I think that was a good timeout. The Vikings used their second timeout there to just calm things down a little bit. And it was a kind of a contentious moment. You could see Malena Dins, and she always does play with a lot of emotion, and part of what makes her such a good player, certainly. But I think the Vikes just needed some calming down after that. Here's Nell into the net and down. Vikes have made a lot of mistakes here in this third set. I mean, as you would expect, you don't find yourself down 7 this late in the set if you play a good set. Vikes have not. King with a serve, tipped across from Kuski. Couple of ledgers getting each other's way and bat the ball across. So a chance here for the Vikings to maybe get back into this thing. It'll be Lindsay Nell. Back to the service line. Brooklyn Dins onto the floor. And an ace for the Vikes. All right, well, maybe the Vikes are back in business. That's the second ace of the night for Lindsay Nell. Fourth of the night for the Vikings. They're back within 5. How close do you got to get this before you feel like, I mean, once you get to that 20-point mark, man, I feel like you got to be in the high teens if you want to give yourself a real good shot. Oh, and Sydney Pitts is not going to give him that shot. 21-16. That was hammered down the line from Sydney Pitts. Pitts taking matters into her own hands there. My goodness. Here's Hoffman. Dug up by Shea. Kuski looks far side. Malena Dins cross court. That was deep. Malena rose up high. Smashed it cross court. Couldn't keep it down. 22-15. Now it's going to take something special for the Vikes to get back into this one in this third set. Malena deep. Eye roll there from Malena Dins. The Vikings, is this looking eerily similar to the Laconia match over in the pit? Johnson, Kuski, sets it back. Abby Cole off the block. Tipped across by Lewis. Johnson, Kuski, Cole once again off of the block. Dug up by Haley Hoffman in the back row. Swing deep. Vanessa Schmidt goes deep on that one. 16-23. Vikings got to go on a massive run here in the next couple of points to put some pressure on Springs at the very least. You want to get some momentum heading into that fourth set. Sam Unger and Avery Supernan back onto the floor. The rotation or the change that seemed to work magic in the second set, not so much here in the third. Unger sets it up to Supernan, and Avery just has to tip it across. Near side, Pitts mistimed it. Supernan tips it up, and that's deep from Milena Dins, and she lets out a big yell. And the Vikings are a point away. And it'll be Allison Ducks back onto the floor to try to seal this for Springs in what has been a pretty dominant second set, and really outside of a couple of runs. Dins into the tape. 25-16, Springs with the lead. They win sets 1 and 3, as did the Spartans of Laconia a couple weeks ago when the Vikes traveled over to the pit, as it's called. Vikings battled back, won the fourth set, won the fifth set, and took that conference match. They got a lot of work to do here. They'll try to regroup and finish things off when we come back. WLA-TV. Not the Spartans. Ledgers and the Vikings. Stay with us. Homecoming week continues here on WLA-TV. Glad to have you along with me, Jordan King, with you here from the campus of WLA. Vikings find themselves in a hole here. First set went to Springs 25-20. Second set to the Vikings 25-21. Third set to the Ledgers 25-16. And Springs is one set away from controlling their Flyway Conference fate. As they say, you want to control your own destiny in sports, and Springs can do that by winning. Then they host the Spartans, Laconia, I believe that's Laconia. There's a lot of Laconia big group of girls over on the far side, all with Laconia gear on. I would assume that's probably their volleyball team. I didn't check the schedule if they have a game tonight, a match tonight, but if not, I would assume that's probably who that is. Here's a tip from Siri Kuski. That's so good from Siri Kuski, her first kill of the night. And the Vikes get started in a big way. But if Springs beats both of them, Springs is the undefeated unanimous solo conference champs. If WLA wins tonight, they will put themselves in the driver's seat with only Campbellsport, who's really struggled this year. And then the Vikes would be solo conference champs. That's a swing from Pitts from the back row, and it's deep. 2-0 lead for the Vikes here early in the fourth set. Vikes got to win it to keep things alive. And then we go to a 15-point final set. If the Ledgers win and then the Spartans beat the Ledgers next week, we will have a three-way tie atop the Flyway Conference and split the conference championship. This is deep from Avery Supernan. She was off balance. And it's 2-1. The first to serve was Braylon Lewis. Now it's Addison King. Dug up by the Vikings. Middle set to Lindsay Nell. Nell picked out Lewis, and Nell going back off of the block. And Springs was into the net anyway. It was Hoffman, and the point goes to the Vikings. I'll tell you what. I think they officially called that into the net from net interfere, whatever, into the net from Haley Hoffman. We're a jolly, generous bunch up here. We're gonna give that kill to Lindsay now because she would have had it for sure. Tipped across by Hoffman. Shea looks to the far side. That's Milena Dins off the block. It was down anyway. It was touched. Who cares if it was down or not? That's kill number 9, and that was hit with some venom from Milena Dins. Saw her take over in that Laconia match at times. All business from Milena. And that was reminiscent of that a little bit. That swing right there, that was ferocious. Oh, it's an ace for Siri Kuski. Number 3 for the Vikings, number 3 for Kuski tonight. Or check that, that's Amber Johnson, pardon me. Got ahead of myself there. Kuski started the fourth set, as she always does for the Vikings. Here's Lewis, looks to Hoffman. Hoffman, good swing. Dug up by Amber Johnson, far side. Dins punches it across with the left hand. King, back throw. Kuhn with the swing, it's deep. And the Vikings, as they did in the second set, start off with a 6-1 lead. Forces a Coach Bourne timeout. Springs takes an early timeout. And a 6-1 lead for the Vikings. In that second set, when WLA did this same thing, Springs able to chip back at it. You know, they had it 8-7 in that second set then. So it's not like Springs is going to go away. It was 6-1, I believe, if I got this right. I don't have this in my notes, but I believe it was 6-1 when Springs took the timeout last time as well. So, how does Springs respond to this? Can the Vikes keep the momentum with Amber Johnson at the service line? We'll see. So Johnson, that's a good one. Kuhn deals with it. Near side swing. That was Pitts. And Kuski trying to get it across. Oh, man, Kuski. She's going to go buy a lottery ticket after that one. That had a healthy dose of luck involved. She had that little quick set across that scored a point earlier in this fourth set, and that one just crawled over and missed time. You know, Pitts mistimed it because of hitting the tape. Here's a chance for Dins off the block and down. Dins with 2 big fist pumps, and the Vikes have an 8-1 lead. Johnson, Amber Johnson. I have this as a 7-0 run for the Vikings. Dug up by Kuhn. Near side, tip down. Avery Supernan is waiting for it, and she capitalizes. 9-1 for the Vikings. Lewis was looking to the near side, and the pass was actually over the net. Lewis tips it up. Hoffman tips it across. Sprawling out was Kira Shea, and Kuski just tips it across. Shea was kind of in a couple of the hitters' ways. That's a cross-court swing from Putzer. Too deep. 10-1 for the Vikings. Well, whatever Coach Krause said in the huddle, take that coach talk and you make sure you put that in the put that one in the coach's binder. That one's got to be, you got to find that one again. There's another ace. Amber Johnson going crazy now. Her second ace here. And another Springs timeout. They take their second in quick succession. Vikings lead it 11-1, and the Viking crowd, led by the students, is going nuts. 2 aces tonight for Siri Kuski, 2 for Lindsay Nell, 2 now for Amber Johnson in this third set. 11-1. And the Vikings celebrating in that huddle. They know they still have a lot of work to do. Not only do you got to get this thing up to 25, you don't want to give up any momentum to the Springs at all heading into that third set or into that fifth set either. And again, that's making an assumption. We're a long way away from 25, although the Vikings are in clear pole position here. A free one coming. Hoffman passes it across. Dug up by Shea. Kuski goes to the middle, and this is well deep. Milena Dins thought it was tipped, and so did the Viking bench. Coach Krause had a kind of a wry smile on her face. I think if this was a tied match or a tied game within the match, I don't know if that would have been the reaction. I think she was pretty convinced that was touched by someone. Here is Kira Shea into the net. I did not think it was touched, but Milena Dins hits it so hard. If it is touched, you can't tell. Got to be able to use all 5 senses there. You got to be able to hear that. That's into the net. Oh, no, they're going to say that was into the block that time from Nell. From Dins. That's Nell, and Nell slams it down. Apologies. Brooklyn Dins onto the floor. 12-3 lead for the Vikings is restored, and Lindsay Nell back to the service line. The junior with the jump serve. Lexi Kuhn gets it to the front row and off of the net. 13-3 for the Vikings. Back to a 10-point lead. This is the biggest lead either team has had in any of the sets tonight. Here's Nell once again. Dug up, I think that was King there. Off balance, but getting it down was Vanessa Schmidt. And Milena Dins not able to dig it up. That was a great swing. It wasn't the best pass of the night that wasn't the best sequence of the night from Springs in terms of passing. But Schmidt made it look good with the swing. Here is Milena Dins. How do you defend that? Milena Dins has now tied Sydney Pitts, who's had a quiet couple of sets here. And Ledger fans will be hoping that she's able to reignite this Springs offense, but she had a couple of quiet sets by her lofty standards, that is. And Milena Dins, meanwhile, has had a really hot start to this fourth set. She has tied her with 11 kills, at least by my count, here tonight. Unger, good serve. Oh, and it's an ace. 6th ace of the night for the Vikings. And it comes from Sam Unger. 15-4, an 11-point lead for the Vikings. Well, if this was in the 5th set, my goodness, that would have been a way to win this. But just the 4th set here. Kuhn leaves that go, and another service error. That's the third or fourth by my count for Unger alone. It's 7th of the night for the Vikings as a team. Unger. Shea has to pass it across. Near side. Into the block and down. King. It was Pitts able to retrieve it for the Ledgers, and that went into the net that time from Schmidt. 16-5. Back to an 11-point Viking lead. And Milena Dins back to the service line now for the Vikes. That pass is, kept in. Good hustle that time from Addison King. Far side, Milena Dins. Back row swing, Milena Dins. 12 kills tonight. That is unbelievable. She and this whole Viking team is playing extremely well here in this third set. But Dins is leading the charge for sure. This is going to be another service error as the Vikes have 8 on the night. I have Springs down for 9, which isn't so bad for Springs when you consider they had 7 in the first set, which they were still able to win fairly comfortably. Lexi Kuhn dug up by Shea. Far side Unger looks to Amber Johnson. Johnson off of the block. King, she hit the block herself and down. Brooklyn Dins. That was her with the block. And that will be her last involvement for the time being as she steps aside for Lindsay Nell to retake her spot, the starter for the Vikings. Those two middles. Here's Unger. Good positioning, good set, and Lindsay Nell hammered on the net there. That one could have been a little bit higher from Unger and a touch more off the net, although it seems to me that Nell seems to like those closer to the net more times than not. Did the ball go out of the gym? I think it did. Yeah, the Vikes, as a Springs fan, heads out into the parking lot and retrieves that ball. We got a backup over there. Springs will go back. It's Lewis. And the Vikings not able to deal with it. 18-7, 18-8, check that, sorry. And the Vikings with a 10-point lead. Braylon Lewis. Dug up by Dins. Back set. Here's Abby Cole. Good swing there from the junior. King. Dug up by Amber Johnson. Unger goes straight back to Johnson. Overpass. Johnson. Middle set from Unger. Oh, good spot, Lindsay Nell. You betcha. 8 kills tonight for Lindsay Nell. 19-8. And Siri Kuski and Avery Supernan back into the ball game. Supernan and Kuski played together in the first set and now this set. And it's been Unger and Cole in those two sets. Otherwise, in sets 2 and 3, Coach Krause went with Kuski and Cole and Unger and Supernan. Just maybe mix things up, give Springs a different look. Overpass from the Vikings as Kuski was able to sprawl out and get it across. Shea finds it. Kuski goes far side, tipped over. Amber Johnson finds a spot. You betcha, Amber Johnson. Just her second kill of the night. 20-8. And the Vikings students with my all-time least favorite cheer, Why So Quiet? That's just asking for poetic justice to be done in the fifth set. But alas, that's what high schoolers do. Cross-court swing from Addison King is a little bit deep, and the Vikes well in control of this one. You got to hope the Vikes come out with this same kind of intensity in the fifth and final set, because they're going to get there at this point. If Springs comes back from this, you can point to me and say, well, it's because you, Mr. King, you said they were going to go to the fifth set. That's what I'm saying right now. This is going to a fifth set. The Vikes got to be able to hold on to the momentum that they have. That was a double hit, I think. Oh, no, they're going to say a Springs player, 14 perhaps. Maybe that was King. Yeah, 1-4, Addison King is saying she stepped across the line. 22-8. And the Vikes have put together a fourth set that if they can replicate, they will certainly put themselves in the catbird seat as it's tipped across by Haley Hoffman, her 6th kill of the night. But put themselves in a very good spot in terms of the Flyway conference race. Campbell Sport in that bottom part of the conference, so you would assume that that would be a chance for the Vikes maybe to sweep their way to a victory. Lewis not able to dig that one up, and the Vikes are a couple of points away. And here is the young lady who put them in a great position here in this fourth set. Amber Johnson was, when the Vikes went on their massive run, Amber was at the service line. Vikes need 2 more. Avery Supernand, oh, that was not struck sweetly, we'll say. You can laugh about that when you're up 23-10. So can I. I can laugh about it whenever I want, I suppose. Here's Kuski. Lindsay Nell able to get it across for the Vikings. Back set, and Kira Shea overhand deals with it. Milena Dins not able to get under or on top of it. She was very much able to get underneath it. And here's a little bit of momentum for Springs, and this is just what I was talking about. If you're the Vikings, this is probably not going to be consequential in this set. If you're the Vikings, you know, you're going to win. You're probably going to win this set. Tipped off the block from Lindsay Nell. Tipped over, and Nell not able to deal with it. But how much momentum do you give Springs here where something they can just grab onto, something they can cling onto as they head into a 5th set? Haley Hoffman continues her service here. Lewis looks back to the near side, tipped across. Kira Shea deals with it. Kuski looks far side. It's a decent set. Off the tape and down for Milena Dins, who shrugs her shoulders. She's got it going here in the 3rd set. Milena's got to keep that working for one more set for these Vikings. Vikings will have, well, we'll see who able to get the first serve in that 5th set. Well, it should be the Vikings, correct? Need my volleyball rule book up here. Overpass for the Vikings, hammered down. Sydney Pitts has her 12th kill of the night. Dins has 13 for reference. Those two are the top 2 on the night. 24-13. Vikes still 1 point away. Allison ducks onto the floor for Springs. Johnson, that's loose. 24-14. Has the momentum pendulum just swung that? Has it just swung enough back into Springs' favor? Here's another missed swing from the Vikings. Sometimes when you take your foot off the gas, or your foot slips off the gas pedal. I'm not saying the Vikings are intentionally trying to take it easy here. They're not. But if you stop playing super well, sometimes that carries over into that 5th set, and you got to be careful with that. Here's Dins. Perfect. Down. It's tied. 25-15. And it's tied 2-2. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they reflipped for this. They'll put 3 minutes on the clock. A couple of Vikings went tearing into the locker room. But the 3 captains for the Vikings, Johnson, Kuski, and Shea, along with head coach Emily Krause, will meet at midcourt with Haley Hoffman, Sydney Pitts, and Coach Michelle Bourne, pardon me. Now, where did I get Bryan from? Michelle Bourne. I wish they did what the football officials do, which is they turn it and they turn and they say they'll defer and they'll receive, but I don't know if they have that signal that they can give to the crowd. The Vikings, you couldn't tell from that reaction. It looks like it will be Laconia. Looks like it will be spring serve, ledger serve. You know, you got Laconia and you got Springs. If you ever do a Laconia versus a Springs game, it's the Laconia Spartans and the Springs Ledgers. It's a handful. Glad you're joining us here tonight. Tonight it is the Vikings and the Ledgers, and I'm glad to have you along. Jordan King with you here from the campus of Winnebago Lutheran Academy. It was Parents' Night. It's homecoming week. High octane, high emotional kind of night. And then you add in what's on the line. Vikings and the Ledgers both 5-0 if you're just joining us. Both these teams 5-0 in the Flyway Conference. Ledgers have their seventh and final game against the Laconia Spartans. That comes up next week. The Vikings have their seventh and final game at Campbellsport, who is as I mentioned, a lower, kind of a bottom of the Flyway team this year. If the Vikings win this and they beat Campbellsport, they are the undefeated Flyway Conference champions. If Springs wins this, they control their own destiny in terms of that match against Laconia. If WLA loses, if the Ledgers win this, WLA could still have a share of the Flyway crown. They would need Laconia then to beat Springs. There you go. That's the story. And tonight it's been 25-20 in the first set. That went the way of the Ledgers. Alternated. Ledgers, Vikings, Ledgers, Vikings. 25-20 to the Ledgers. 25-21 to the Vikes. 25-16. Springs controlled that third set, and then the Vikings dominated the fourth set, 25-15. It's a race to 15 now. It'll start with Braylon Lewis, the sophomore who has set tremendously tonight for Springs. Kuski looks far side, tipped over by Amber Johnson. First point goes to the Vikings. How about that start for the Winnebago Lutheran Academy Vikings? They're up 1-0. Siri Kuski heads to the service line. Beautiful pass. I think that was Shea that dug it up. And Kuski on a platter. And Johnson with the smart play to tip it over. Dealt with well by Kuhn. Tipped across. Into the block. That was Lindsay Nell. Supernan went up with her, but I'm pretty positive that hit off of the right hand of Lindsay Nell and down. Vikes with a 2-point lead. A reminder, they started that third set off 11-1. If the Vikes do that, they're going to be in good shape here. King able to dig it up. Far side, tipped across. Kuski can't get there. That was Putzer, her third kill of the night. Springs fans on their feet, and it's 2-1. By the way, if the Vikings win, well, we'll worry about that if the Vikings do win. Jump serve from King. Dug up by Dins. Back set. Here's Johnson off of the block. Pitts and Hoffman stay out of each other's way. Pitts goes down the line. Sprawling out is Kiera Shea. Here's Lindsay Nell. Dug up by Kuhn. Tremendous defensive plays being made on both sides. Lindsay Nell almost overpassed. Looking far side. Johnson into the block. Up by Dins. And a good spot from Kiera Shea just to get it across. Here's Sydney Pitts. Her second swing. It's down. Sydney Pitts, 13th kill of the night. And if you're the Vikings, you don't want Sydney Pitts getting into a rhythm here in the most important time of the night. That is like a Sydney Pitts left wing 3 in the fourth quarter right there. Just takes the life out of the building. Tipped up and over by Lindsay Nell. Good spot, and it's down. Nell's got 10. The Vikings retake the lead. if you're the Vikings. Come on, Amber Johnson. Do what you did in the fourth set. And let's go on a huge run here. 10-0 run with Johnson at the service line in the fourth, pardon me. And here's one. Braylon Lewis tapping herself on the chest and saying, that was me. And it's the Vikings with a 4-2 lead. Amber Johnson continues to serve. This is a good one. Dug up by Lexi Kuhn. Quick set to the middle. Hoffman pushes it across. Back set. Supernan off the block. Kuhn deals with it. Here's Lewis. Hits it high. Can Hoffman get to it? She can. Shea. Kuski. Far side. Dins. She mistimed the jump. 4-3. She doesn't mistime many. Milena Dins has a way of just floating, kind of levitating in the air. Not able to do that for long enough that time. Haley Hoffman back to the service line. Hits a good one. Dug up by Shea. Kuski looking far side. Give another chance to Milena Dins. You betcha. 15 kills for Milena Dins. She had 16 against Laconia. And the Vikings lead at 5-3. Man, Addison King did all she could. Just to get that to go anywhere near where you want it to go is unbelievable. Tipped across by Pitts. Not enough, and Brooklyn Dins blocked it down. Might add something to say at the net there, too. 6-3. Lindsay Nell continues for the Vikings, who have the Springs doubled up here. Here's a tap. Not far enough from Putzer. And Brooklyn Dins was there. And a timeout for Springs. Coach Bourne has a minute to impart some wisdom and maybe try to stop some momentum. And you can hear the student section from the Vikings trying to get loud. 7-3, the Vikes have the lead, almost halfway there. 15 kills tonight for Milena Dins, all of these, of course, unofficial. 15 for Milena Dins, 10 for Lindsay Nell, 6 for Abby Cole, 2 for Siri Kuski, 3 Amber Johnson, 3 Avery Supernan, 1 Brooklyn Dins. 2 service aces apiece for Amber Johnson, Lindsay Nell, and Siri Kuski. Leading it for the Ledgers, 13 for Sydney Pitts, 6 for Haley Hoffman, 5 Addison King, 3 Vanessa Schmidt. Putzer has 3, Mariana Putzer, and Braylon Lewis has a pair. Yeah, obviously Lewis doing her work from the setting position. Springs running a 5-1 with Lewis at the middle of it. Vikings running a 6-2 with their two setters, Siri Kuski. Ooh, that looked like a double might have been there. Tipped across, though. As I was saying, Vikings running a 6-2, and there was a free swing for Sydney Pitts. Vikes get it across, though. Good dig from Lindsay Nell. That's not her forte, not what she's asked to do. Oh, somehow Amber Johnson got underneath it. Swing, and it's down. Milena Dins' 16th kill of the night. And we got some faculty members off their feet over there. Mr. Westfall and former head coach Jamie Recker. And I know this group of players means a lot to Coach Recker. Oh, that's off the tape and over. Chance for Supernan. Pitts tries to keep it alive. She's able to. Kuhn gets it across. Chance for the Vikings on a free one. Back to Supernan. Cross court. Off of the block. Braylon Lewis not able to dig it up. And it's 9-3. Lindsay Nell. The Vikes need 6 more. Pitts into the net. Another point to the Vikings. And another timeout for Springs. The Vikings dominated the 5th set at the pit to get the win over Laconia. And they are dominating this 5th set. And if you're going to run the flag, you got to have that flag waving now. Come on now. There you go. Ten to 3. The Vikings started found themselves down 2-1. The Vikings responded 11-1 to start the fourth set and 10-3 to start the fifth set. And a chance here to give themselves an opportunity to win the Flyway Conference next week at Campbellsport. Something that has not been done often in this program's history and recently only done once. King gets it across. Dug up by Nell. Wasn't a great pass. Siri Kuski tipped it across. And Hoffman's just going to have it to give it back. Pardon me, that was Lewis who had to give it back to the Vikings. Off of the block. Good block by Pitts, and the Vikings can't get to it. Milena Dins with a nice swing. But a good job by Sydney Pitts and company. I think Lewis was over there, or maybe Mariana Putzer. 10-4. Ducks on to serve. Far side Dins, and can't make contact on that one. 10-5. Springs just trying to get themselves back into this thing. Allison Ducks will continue to serve. What a couple of minutes ago seemed like a Vikings certain win. Now the momentum starts to swing. There's Milena Dins. Oh, off of the Libero, Lexi Kuhn. And Milena Dins with an exclamation point tattooed. 17th kill of the night. 11-5. Unger and Cole into the ball game. There we go. Near side, down the line. No, that was deep. I think, yeah. I thought that was Pitts into the net. Coach Krause trying to calm her team down. She's saying, no, it was us into the net. I don't think that's right. I mean, you can go back and look at it. The call was the Vikings were into the net. It was deep from Pitts, and Pitts will now serve. Loops one over. Unger, back set to Milena Dins. Tipped across by Lewis. Tipped up by Milena Dins. Free one coming for the Springs. Lewis looks to the near side. King swings. Dug up by Shea. Unger and a free one from Cole. Lewis once again looks to King. Tips it over the block. Dins gets there. Oh, Abby Cole across and around the block. It was a solo block attempt from Addison King, and it wasn't enough to stop Abby Cole. She just tapped it around the block, and the Vikes are 3 points away. Milena Dins back to the service line. Viking volleyball trying to continue a good start from Viking soccer to this homecoming week. Amber Johnson tried to tip it across. It was Braylon Lewis who blocked it and tipped it down. Still a 5-point Viking lead. Momentum is hanging on a knife edge here. 12-7. Lexi Kuhn back to serve, and she jump serves. Unger looks far side. Free ball coming. Lewis looks to King. King off the block and down. It's a 4-point game, 12-8. Got the camo on the far side. The thing that you see flashing over there, someone brought in a duck decoy on the spring side. That's commitment right there now. Come on now. Lexi Kuhn continues at the service line into the net. And an inopportune time for a service error for the Springs. Kiera Shea, the libero for the Vikings. They need 2. That just gets over. Lewis, overpass, and off of the net, and the Vikes can't make them pay. There was an overpass. Oh, and Lindsay Nell, you don't mind that idea. Trying to be aggressive, stay aggressive. But the Vikes need 2 more points, need them where Springs needs 5. Or pardon me, 6. I can count. Here's Nell off the block. King and Pitts miscommunication. And let's give it to the 11th kill of Lindsay Nell. The Vikes are a point away. Siri Kuski, a senior setter for the Vikings. back onto the floor with a chance to seal this thing against crosstown rival St. Mary Springs Academy. Kuski, dug up by Kuhn. Lewis, back set, King, deep, Vikings win in 5. And a big embrace from Coach Krause to Coach Werner. They know they are a match away from getting this done, from potentially winning a Flyway Conference championship in year number 1. 25-20, 25-21, 25-16, 25-15, 15-9. And the Vikings win it here. We'll add up some statistics. I asked Coach Krause. She said, yeah, she was going to ask a player. So we'll see. We think we're going to have a player joining us coming up here in just a second. So we'll get set up for that as well. Hope you'll stick around with us here on WLA TV. If you want to hear from one of the Viking volleyball players that just got a huge conference win. They went on the road to the Pit. Tough place to go play. The Vikings have not had much success there on the basketball court. They haven't had much success there on the volleyball court. They were able to get a 5-set win there coming from behind. And would you believe it, they lost the first set tonight, responded with the second, lost the third, won sets 4 and 5. Stay with us. We hope to be able to talk to one of the successful Viking volleyball players. Hopefully Coach Krause remembers, maybe. We'll see. See if she will send one of them up. As we wait, Milena Dins would be a good candidate. She had 17 kills tonight in a big spot for the Vikings. Lindsay Nell had 11 for the Vikes. Abby Cole had 7. 3 for Avery Supernan, 3 for Amber Johnson. Johnson also had 2 service aces. 2 for Siri Kuski, 1 for Brooklyn Dins. Nell also had a couple service aces. Kuski had 2 service aces. For Springs, Sydney Pitts led the way. She was impressive tonight. 13 kills by my count. And played good defense for them as well. All over the place was Sydney Pitts. Hats off to her. 6 kills for Haley Hoffman. Had a nice night, so led by their 2 captains for sure. Addison King, number 14, the junior, had 5 kills. Mariana Putzer had 3. Vanessa Schmidt had 3. And Braylon Lewis had 2. I think we got the captains coming up. We'll see. Yeah, I think we got the captains coming up. So stay with us here on WLA TV. We're going to talk to Kira Shea, Amber Johnson, and Siri Kuski. We'll see. I think that's what they're doing. They're walking up the bleachers right now, heading up to my broadcast perch. So stick around, and we'll have them in just a second. Barring technical difficulties. Who's going first? You can all talk at the same time. So just someone has to hold the mic. How good does this feel?
Very good.
That's Kira Shea. She's the libero for the Vikings. Kira, I made the claim these were 2 of the better liberos we'll see, certainly in the conference. But you, Lexi Kuhn, talk about the battle that you guys had out there tonight. Not just specifically between you 2, but, I mean, there's a lot of good defense that you guys had to play to get this done tonight.
Yeah, we were all like, at first we were a little not very good, but then later on we got better and we started covering, we started getting our blocks where we needed them to be, and we were just there on defense wherever we needed to be.
Any of you can answer this. There's a lot of emotion up here right now. I can tell this means a lot to you girls. You go to the Pit earlier this year, a place where basketball, volleyball, it doesn't matter. It's a tough place to play, and WLA just hasn't had a lot of success there. You go to Laconia, you win it in 5. You're down here 2-1. What's the thought process? What does Coach Krause say in that timeout between sets 3 and 4 where you got to turn it back around?
She just told us to pick it up. She didn't really have a pity party for us. She just told us to follow through, pick it up, and win it, I guess.
That is senior Amber Johnson. And Amber, by my count, this is probably completely wrong, but I had you for 10-0 run when you were serving, part of an 11-0 run overall to start the fourth set. When you're serving like that, not all of them are aces, but does it just feel like the world is like you're unstoppable? What does it feel like when you're serving the ball like that?
Oh, yeah, it feels amazing because my goal when I go up to serve is just to get it in. That's all I want. So I put it over the net, hope for the best.
Okay. Siri Kuski, the senior setter for the Vikings. Tonight, I mean, you had Milena with 17 kills by my count, Lindsay with 11, Abby with 7, Amber with 3, Avery with 3. When you get to play with so many talented outside hitters, let's talk about that.
I just try to work on my consistency so I can give them the good sets so that they can pound it down on the other side and get us that point.
And then for you, service-wise, had a couple of aces as well. You're always counted on to be the person that when it comes back around, you got to start things off for this team. What does that responsibility mean to you?
It means a lot because I want my team to trust me. So when I go up there and serve, like Amber, I get it over and I hope for the best. I hope I get an ace, but I just want it to go over and make them work for their point.
This is for any of you. Tonight, clinched at least a share of the Flyway Conference title. I mean, you guys aren't looking ahead yet. You want this thing all to yourselves because you guys are a good selfish group, right? You want the Flyway Conference crown to yourself. What's the heights for this team? What's the limits for this team? You want the Flyway Conference championship. You got one game left against Campbellsport to do that. What's next?
Well, we want conference and then playoffs. We take it one game at a time, and our goal is to try to get into the state tournament.
Girls, thanks for stopping up here. Excellent job tonight. The Vikings get a huge win over St. Mary's Springs Academy and put themselves in pole position. They're 6-0 now in the Flyway Conference, 19-8 overall. 17 kills for Milena Dins. Thanks, girls. 17 kills for Milena Dins. Lindsay Nell had 11 once again, 7 for Abby Cole, and then a smattering of others for them. And I'll tell you what, there's quite a few tears being spread around this Viking stadium as they know that they have put themselves in a position to win a conference championship now. And a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, if you will, have been put into this program by a lot of people. None perhaps more than Mr. Jamie Recker, who's across the side, and he was playing every point tonight with these girls out there as well, and the Vikings able to get it done tonight. Again, the first set went to Springs, 25-20. Springs able to overcome 7 service aces and still get it done. Vikings responded in the second set, won it 25-21. After that, the Vikes really struggled in that third set. They lost it 25-16, put themselves in kind of the momentum was squarely in the hands of Springs. And then you look at the response from the Vikings in that fourth set. And it all comes down, to me, to how they started it, in my opinion. Talking to Amber Johnson there, talking about how when she is serving, she's just trying to get it in, but you feel unstoppable. And the Vikes felt unstoppable in that fourth set. They started off 11-1, and just unbelievable for the Vikings. 25-15, they're able to win that third set. And then the fourth set, they started off 10-3 and able to win that 15-9. So the Vikings tonight win it in 5, 2-3, and had to kind of bounce back. Lost the first set, lost the third set, and then battled back, won a couple straight sets. They were tremendous tonight. If you don't love volleyball, you haven't watched it, ladies and gentlemen, because I task you to watch tonight's match. If you weren't here, I hope we did it justice here on WLA TV because it was a raucous environment. It was unbelievable volleyball that was played on both sides. Great defense from the Vikings, led in part by their libero, Kiera Shea, and their setter, Siri Kuski, and the Vikings able to get it done. The Vikes, as I mentioned, 6-0 in the Flyway Conference and 19-8 overall. The Ledgers dropped to 17-9 overall and 5-1 in the Flyway Conference. They close out their conference campaign next week. They welcome in Laconia for a battle of who will be second in the Flyway, and the Vikings have an opportunity to win the Flyway Conference outright. They take on Campbellsport on the road. Jordan King saying so long, good night. Once again, the schedule for this week, tomorrow, Power Buff and Powder Puff, volleyball and football respectively. Friday we have skit night. That will be as it always is, a marquee event. Hope you'll join us for that. And then Saturday, homecoming football. All of that coming up on WLA TV. Don't miss any of it. Hit the subscribe button and make sure to plan the rest of your week around WLA TV. Because why wouldn't you? Good night.